What about the contents of Issue 1? Did Warren Publishing deliver a book worthy of horror fans' 35 cents? Absolutely. Russ Jones and Bill Pearson scripted the maiden story, Voodoo, and it benefits greatly from Joe Orlando's pencils. The simple plot involves a wife growing tired of her husband's drinking, cavorting, and philandering, so she draws on voodoo for revenge, only to lose her head over the matter. Literally. No, a mere decapitation doesn't end her vendetta. Warren Publishing took full advantage of the magazine market's freedoms, quickly establishing that Creepy wouldn't shy away from mature themes. Orlando's nightmarish artwork adds a surreal element to the violent melodrama. The second published sequential fable, H2O World, departs from horror and dives, pun intended, into a fantasy underwater adventure with science fiction undertones. The inclusion of this weird fiction entry won't turn off horror genre fans and, essentially, tells the book won't lock itself into any particular convention. That can be concerning to readers, as horror fans expect scary stories, not science fiction. However, a well-written, one-off fantasy item wouldn't likely hurt, especially when the next story serves a recognizable monster. With a title like Vampires Fly at Dusk, and a splash page featuring Transylvania mountains and a Gothic castle, horror movie and comic fans get exactly what they want from a collection of scary illustrated stories. Archie Goodwin's work is serviceable, elevated by a tragic twist ending. While not a standout, the tale marked a triumphant return of vampires to comics. The blood-drinking yarn immediately precedes a lycanthropic one, unimaginatively titled Werewolf. The segment earns additional points for blending werewolves with a big game hunter's exploits in Africa, which adds much appreciated uniqueness. The obligatory twist ending isn't telegraphed, so the shock ending hits hard, and the big game hunter deserves what he gets. Readers receive 2 chapters in a row featuring popular monsters. Warren Publishing understood that traditional monster stories leave horror fans happy, and such creatures on covers sold issues. Unfortunately, Creepy and Eerie would go to the well too often with tried-and-true creature stories, with some falling flat with cliches and half-baked writing in later issues. A title like Bewitched is hardly original, a point that becomes even more apparent since the television series of the same name lit up black and white television screens around the same time. Witches can provide the basis for many intriguing tales, but this entry falters by haphazardly weaving in voodoo to give a narrative featuring woefully underdeveloped witches an ending. Issue 1 bounces back on a high note with the outstandingly wry The Success Story, which features a conniving and untalented syndicated comic strip creator faking his skills by hiring others to write, pencil, and ink his stories. When the hired help discovers the fraudulent creator is getting all the credit without actually creating anything, they confront him. Multiple murders ensue. Writer Archie Goodwin loads The Success Story with timely and timeless winks and nods to the challenges of making it in comics. The plot pays homage to EC Comics' Walking Dead cameos, offering no explanation for why the dead can come back to life. They just do. The conventions worked for EC Comics, and they work here for Warren because the focus is on the main character's dastardly deeds and comeuppance, and not on overly explaining the dark fantasy element. What was said previously about Creepy tapping classic monsters too frequently. The inaugural issue concludes with Pursuit of the Vampire, the second bloodsucker excursion in the same magazine. It's an entertaining vampiric revisit, so readers won't entirely feel like they've been here before. The well-written piece fails in its conclusion, as the twist comes out of the proverbial blue, but it does feature a cameo from another classic monster, and promises more to come in subsequent issues. Creepy #1 receives a solid 4 stars for writing and art, and an additional ½ star for all those cool advertisements for Monster World magazine, novelties, and more. Old-time garish horror, penciled and inked tales were back, and Warren further established itself as a top player on the newsstands, smartly associating its illustrated magazine with horror movies and not the comic book industry. Doing so allowed Warren to target Fright fans outside the Marvel and DC readership to great success.